Good evening, everyone. I might be able to talk without this mic. I'm loud to begin with. They hear me 4 homes over from where I live. So, anyways, I didn't expect such a big crowd tonight. I'm like, it's unbelievable. I hope you all have tickets. And we should have a 50-50 draw with this many people. Anyways, this is the welcome to our beautiful Queensborough Community Center. And tonight, I do see many familiar and friendly faces. And thank you for attending this meeting. This is the all candidates meeting for the federal riding of New Westminster-Burnaby-Maillardville. And my name is Laurie, and I'm going to be your moderator for this evening. Additionally, we are live streaming this on Facebook, and we're also trying to put it up on a YouTube channel. And if you want to look at those, you can. I need to do the land acknowledgement to begin with, and I always have a hard time with this because I don't know how to pronounce it. But we are located on the ancestral, traditional, and unceded territories of the Halkamayo. Thank you. Speaking Coast Salish peoples. Let's have a little quick information about the riding. The boundaries were changed in 2023, and at that time, the census in 2021 was there's 114,700 people in this riding. 82,000 of them were voters. 5 years later, 4 years later, I don't know what it is. So, anyways, the other part is there is an advanced poll that will be happening here in Queensborough for the Queensborough residents that live here, and that will be over the Easter weekend. So it'll be Friday, April 18th, Saturday, April 19th, Sunday, April 20th, and Monday, April 21st, from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. at Roma Hall, which is at the corner of Howes and Ewan. Election day is Monday, April 28th. It will be held here, not here, in this, but over there, at the Queensborough Community Center, and it will run from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. If you have any questions, I can give you the number to contact Elections Canada for this area. It's up on Edmonds, I believe. So we have our 5 candidates tonight. From the Conservative Party, we have Indy Panchi. From the Liberal Party of Canada, we have Jake Sawatzky. Green Party of Canada, Tara Shustarian. Running as an independent, we have Lourence Singh. And for the New Democratic Party of Canada, we have Julian. I'd also like to say that congratulate Julian on another year around the sun. It is his birthday today. And the candidates have assured me that after this, they're going to grab him and give him the bumps. 63. And a pinch to grow an inch. Okay, this evening is put on by the Queensborough Residents Association, and we're a non-partisan volunteer group. And we want to thank the City of New West, our Queensborough Community Center, and staff for setting up and making this space available for tonight's gathering. I'd also like to thank our volunteers, who without them we would not be hosting this evening. On North Wall, where you can hardly see it now, there's a table there, and you will find the candidates' literature and handouts. And if you're thirsty, we have some complimentary water, and I gotta make sure I do this. We have a little Queensborough Residents Association card, and we meet 4 times a year for approximately an hour, and membership is $5 a year, and we look at issues like traffic, childcare, transit, sports facilities, events, policing, community issues, and we connect with decision makers at federal, provincial, and municipal levels. There. How the evening will proceed. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to introduce themselves, outlining their qualifications, political history, why they are running, and what they see as prominent issues in our community and Canada as a whole. Kane will be operating, he's back there, where are you, Kane? He's operating the timer, and we have a TV here and a TV there that are the timers, and so the candidates can watch that timer, and you as the audience can watch this, and you will see how many minutes everybody has. Housekeeping. If you need a bathroom, they're straight out that back door, men's and women's. And you all know where the fire exits are. Prior to tonight's event, we used a random number generator to pick up who was going to go first, second, third, fourth, fifth, in terms of introduction, in terms of the questions, and in terms of the wrap-up. So what's happened over the past few weeks, we've canvassed our Queensborough Residents Association Facebook page, and we asked what are the issues that people see for this upcoming election. And out of that, we gathered quite a bit of information, and we boiled it down to 18 questions. Of those 18, we then forwarded them to all the candidates so they could be prepared for tonight. And then we sat down as a group and we picked out what we thought were the we thought were the 6 best questions to ask the candidates. So tonight is, we ask the question, the candidates reply, and then we move on. So, and it will go in rotation, there is an order for them. With our time limit tonight, we're only able to do 6 questions because it takes 10 minutes to do 1 question with the candidates. So that takes up an hour, and I'm getting long-winded, so it'll even take longer. Let's see now. We aim to wrap up this evening around 8:30, 8:40, and each candidate will be allotted 2 minutes at the end to do a personal wrap-up outlining why you should vote for them and their parties. After the wrap-up, there will be time till 9 p.m. to mingle and ask candidates questions that we may not have had time to get to, or you would like a more detailed answer. We ask our audience to please be respectful, no yelling, no catcalling, and we thank you for your cooperation. The other part is, as we're catching some audio and filming that area, we'd like it to kind of keep it quiet because it will pick up your conversation instead of the candidates. So, candidates, you have 3 minutes to introduce yourself, give your qualifications, why are you running, what are the prominent issues, and I've got to look at the number. And I'm going to run this microphone back and forth, so you're going to see me walking a lot. I'll probably get my 10,000 steps in. Okay, so we're going to start off, and at the first it's going to be Indy is going to go first, and then Jake, Tara, Lourence, and Peter. They're going to do their introductions. We're going to start it now.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Laurie, for organizing this, and thank you for the Queensborough Residents Association. What a great crowd we got here. Full house. I'm Indy Panchi, and I'm a candidate for the Conservative Party of Canada, which is one of riding from the Westminster-Burnaby-Maillardville. I was born in England, Birmingham. I was Birmingham. Here we go, one person. Birmingham, and I moved to Canada in 1998. And the reason why I moved here is a different country than to what it is now. I came here for a better life, a better lifestyle, and to raise a family here. Since moving to Canada, I've resided mainly in East Burnaby, and since 2021, I've been living in Queensborough. I'm a real estate professional since 2007, and so I fully understand the housing issues in our city. On a personal level, in 2006, I founded one of the largest non-profit organization called Good Night Free Kitchen, which feeds the homeless and needy on the downtown east side. Can you all hear me clearly?
No.
You can't hear me?
Microphone close to your mouth.
Is that better? early. Do I have to start again or should I go? Okay. It's a volunteer-led organization based in Queensborough, and we serve about more than 1,000 meals every weekend to those in need. 4 years ago, I also started a Love All, Feed All bike-a-thon, which is a 100-kilometer bike-a-thon, which goes from Westminster, Queensborough, to Richmond and back. And that basically has about 300 participants, local participants, mainly from Westminster, to bring all communities together for a great cause, which is feeding those in need. I see the rise in poverty levels. I see the rise in homelessness. Mental health issues are not being addressed, and increasing drug addictions, which are destroying our neighborhoods. I've entered politics because I'm tired of watching our country heading in the wrong direction. I don't recognize this country anymore. It's changed so much. Our economy is weak. Violent crime is on the rise in the last 10 years. It's the Liberal government supported by the NDP. Have been in power. Decriminalizing drugs have resulted in chaos in our neighborhoods, and we've lost over 50,000 lives to the mental crisis. Not only that, we've got hate crimes that are up by 200%. I'm running for the Conservative Party because I want to provide hope. Hope to our youth, so they can enjoy the opportunities in this country that I was given when I moved here. Hope to our seniors, so they can afford basic needs like groceries and are safe from criminals plaguing our neighborhoods. As your next Member of Parliament, I look forward to being your voice in Ottawa, and I'm going to work for you, the people of this party. Thank you.
Laurie, Sarah's next.
Is it? No, on this one, on the intro.
Teresa.
Oh, God. I didn't bring my glasses.
You have to reset the clock.
I'll carry these with me.
Shall I get? Okay. Hello everyone. Thank you so much for having all of us here. And yeah, I can see it's a full house. My name is Shushtarian, and I'm the Green Party candidate for New Westminster-Burnaby-Maillardville. I'd first like to acknowledge the lands I'm also on. These lands, actually, I'm from the Hunkaminam and Squamish-speaking peoples in North Burnaby. But I'd like to acknowledge the lands here of the Kakait Nation, Semiahmis, Katsi, and the Kwantalan. And I think Tiwasan. I'm very careful because it's the work that I do with Indigenous people, so I'm very mindful of that, to acknowledge the lands. I came to Canada. I'm an immigrant that came to Canada with my family, my dog. 23 years ago, of course, the dogs passed away. We've had lots of dogs ever since. But we moved to the conservation, Burnaby Mountain Conservation Area. It's a beautiful place, fell in love, never wanted to stay anywhere else in Canada. So, there we were. But while I was there, like any normal immigrant, you say, okay, I'm going to find a job and, get involved in the life of Canada. What happened when I came there, the Trans Mountain expansion project had just happened, and there were about 50,000 trees felled in our area, and that was history. I just got involved with a lot of environmental and social justice organizations. I'm the co-chair of the West Coast Climate Action Network, which is an environmental non-government organization. As well as I've done a stint with the BC Poverty Reduction Coalition, so I do know about the issues that we have in this area, and I would just love to be able to tackle all the challenges that you have here in New Westminster and Queensborough area. And it's also, I've got a lot of other things, so I'm on the Environment Committee of the Burnaby City Council, so as you can see, there's a lot of me which is, sort of embedded in environmental and social justice issues, but also racial justice issues, because I was doing a stint with BC Palliative Care as well for their advanced care plan for seniors and as a South Asian advisor. And I'm running because, just like Indy, and I think a lot of us, we feel that systems are failing and we need to do something better for our future. And unfortunately, I'm the only candidate that wants climate action. Thank you.
I think I have it under control now. Jake.
Good afternoon, everyone. Really looking forward to spending this evening with you all. I'm very grateful for you all to come out and spend your time discussing these important issues. My name is Jake Sawatzky. I'm a Liberal candidate for New Westminster-Burnaby-Maillardville. My background is in mental health advocacy and research, and I've raised over $250,000 for various charities, mostly the Canadian Mental Health Association, but also the BCSPCA, BC Red Cross, Days for Girls, many more. I also am an entrepreneur. I have a small business where I organize concerts within Vancouver. I've organized over 50 live music concerts, which provide artists the opportunity to get paid for their artistry. And this year, I decided it was very important to step up, partly because I feel in the mental health space, one person can only do so much, and we are seeing what is a policy problem, and a lot more attention and resources needs to go towards making sure that people who are really struggling with mental health and addictions are receiving the proper level of care that they need to recover. Also, as you are all very aware, we have a massive threat south of the border, a critical threat. Every day we hear more about tariffs and annexation threats. Just yesterday, we got another annexation threat from the United States. This is nothing to laugh about. This is a very, very critical time for us to all come together as Canada and elect one leader who will represent our views. And I do firmly believe that that leader is Mark Carney. Mark Carney is the leader who has the correct, a very large amount of experience with the economy, and he is somebody that will stand up to Donald Trump. On the Canadian stage right now, in terms of leaders, it is a two-way battle between the Conservatives and the Liberals, and I do fully put my weight behind Mark Carney. He came to this riding only about 4 days ago. Me and him went to Kozak. I got the chance to introduce him to my grandparents at Kozak, and it was an incredible experience. I am happy to report that he is just as kind and genuine in person as he is on the news. And I had a great conversation with him. He told me that young voices are very much needed in leadership. It's important that the House of Commons is representative of all Canadians, including young people who are thinking about the future of our country. So I encourage you to consider that this is not business as usual. This is a very critical time for Canada, and I do strongly encourage you to vote Liberal in the upcoming election. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I want to thank the Queensborough Residents Association and Laurie in particular for hosting this event tonight, and I want to thank all of you for attending to really hear all the candidates out. This is a job interview. We are beholden to you, our constituents. So hearing what we have to say about all the various issues. I'm running as your independent candidate here in New Westminster-Burnaby-Maillardville. I was formerly your Conservative candidate. I'll get into that in a second. Just a brief introduction of myself. I migrated to Canada with my parents when I was 2 years old. I was born in Hong Kong. My father is of Indian origin. My mother is from the Philippines. I attended Simon Fraser University, graduating in 2019 with a degree in business and a minor in economics. In 2015, I also obtained my real estate license in my second year of school. I was balancing my schoolwork with my real estate practice, using my earnings to pay for my college tuition. In 2015, back to my time at university, I also volunteered at several nonprofit student-run organizations, including the Media Endowment Asset Management Fund. And in 2015, I was awarded the Surrey Board of Trade Top 25 Under 25 Award. In 2019, when I finished school, I decided I wanted to pursue other opportunities in the private sector, so I worked in jobs in 2 startups in finance, consulting, and fintech. And that brought me here today when I wanted to see other opportunities to enter public service. You might be wondering why I am running to be your member of parliament. As I mentioned, I graduated in 2019, and I noticed, especially the last 5 years, that Canadian promise is slipping away. The Canada I once knew is not the same. In 2019, rent was about $1,900 for a 1-bedroom, now it's shot up to $2,800. And I noticed some of my peers after university moved to the United States or moved to other countries, seeing more opportunity abroad. So I want people to be patriotic again, passionate about being Canadian, and seeing opportunity living here in Canada. 1 minute left, so back to why I was formerly a Conservative candidate. You might be wondering. To summarize, I was on a podcast over 4 years ago. From my friend's kitchen table, I was a guest. We spoke about geopolitics. I talked about how it's amazing living in a Western democracy like Canada, where we have such an amazing system. And then I talked about the Chinese government, how over 40 years, many people have been lifted out of poverty, creating a bustling middle class with megacities. And I said that because of their economic successes, their system over there works for them, although it's different from ours. So the party did not like that. I appealed their decision unsuccessfully, and I decided to move on because of the support from the community to stay on as an independent. And why I deserve to be a member of parliament, I feel I've done the process correctly. I've been campaigning for nearly a year. Many faces here in the audience are familiar. I know many of you. I've made eye contact with you since we began. And I've done a grassroots approach, making connections here in the community. And I feel I would continue doing that as your member of parliament. Thank you very much.
Peter.
I'd like to start off by shouting out to Laurie Moore, who received just a few weeks ago a King Charles III Coronation Medal for his community service here in Queensborough. And I too would like to acknowledge we're on the traditional unceded territory of the Kakite First Nation, the Hokomina speaking Coast Salish peoples. This is a job interview. We've had 5 job interviews, 5 all candidates meetings. Ms. Shustarian and myself have attended all 5. I believe deeply that when you are going for a job, you need to attend the job interviews. Now, my colleagues, Mr. Sawatzky and Mr. Singh, have only missed 1 of the 5. Mr. Panchi is attending his first one. He's missed 4 of the 5. I'll let you judge, because you are the bosses, to decide whether you feel that that's important. But to my mind, if you miss a job interview, you don't get the job. And Pierre Poilievre has asked his candidates across the country not to show up for job interviews. It's not just here. It's right across the country. In part because they can't defend the very poor Conservative record. Now, I want to talk about my record. Of course, I was born in this area. 4 generations of my family have lived here. I've been coming to Queensborough since I was a kid. And that is what compels me to work hard on behalf of my bosses, the constituents of Westminster-Burnaby and now Maillardville. We've helped 22,000 families, including many in Queensborough. And in the last Parliament, we fought during the pandemic to ensure that families, people with disabilities, seniors, students, workers, and small businesses were taken care of. In this Parliament, I come back to you having used the procedural experience that I have, working with Julian Singh and the NDP caucus, to put in place the first dental care program across the country that at the end of next month will benefit 30,000 people in this riding. We've also put into place a new pharmacare program. So if you know somebody has diabetes, sometimes diabetes medication can cost $1,000 a month. Well, at the end of this year, that diabetes medication and devices will be free. We fought for affordable housing. And we now have, after the Paul Martin government ended the National Housing Program, the first units of affordable housing, that's no more than 30% of your income, They're starting to be built right across the country. That's because the NDP knew how to leverage a minority parliament to get things done. We have a new childcare program that is in place, and a national food program that benefits students in Westminster, in Burnaby, and in Coquitlam. We have made a difference. And so what I would say to you to conclude is experience matters, vote local, and I hope you'll vote Peter Julian on April 28th. Thank you.
All right, that's the introduction time. I can't get over the crowd in here.
I know.
I think we're over limit, but who cares? Anyways, we've now got the first question of the evening, and I actually have the little secret list here, so I'm pretty sure I'll get the right candidate first. But the first question is, immigration has been a foundational part of growing Canada. What issues and policies do you envision in the immediate future and longer term, especially in areas like the workforce and education? And our first candidate to talk will be Tara.
So yes, Canada has been absolutely fantastic for us as immigrants. We were able to, I don't think our credentials were fast-tracked, and that's why it was a little bit of issue when we initially arrived in Canada. But after that, our children were in school. We came from an English-speaking country, so that made a big difference. But what I would like to do is, what policies do we envision, to make immigration a success and have that social cohesion for us? One would be targeted immigration. So have government officials as well as business personnel meet together and find out what are the gaps. What are the professions that need to have workers come to them? That would be one thing. Also, fast-tracking apprenticeships for people who come within Canada, so that there's so many areas in construction and renewable energy which would need those kind of skills. So yeah, absolutely utilize those skills. As well as family reunification, because what happens with family reunification is you have parents coming in and they become health child care providers, and also I think that's also another issue where we can absolutely support, have a good policy. The other thing would be, have local governments improve settlement services for housing for new immigrants that come in, and also make a special concession for even climate refugees, which would be coming in from countries like Bangladesh or the Maldives, as well as within Canada itself. And so that is something I would do, and I think, and just have good anti-racism policies.
2 minutes goes by quickly. Lourence.
Thank you, Laurie. So immigration is a very important topic. As I mentioned, I moved here when I was 2. Of course, immigration is important to enhance the culture of Canada, but it also needs to be smart. So I'll give you some statistics. In 2023, there were 1.2 million newcomers to Canada, but only about 255,000 housing starts. Each unit, on average, can house 2.5 people, so if you do the math, that's about 600,000 to 700,000 residents. 1.2 million newcomers, that's a shortfall of 500,000. So we need to ensure our housing starts are at pace or above the rate of immigration to ensure our housing, our healthcare systems, and all our public services are not overwhelmed. It's just simply about the math and making sure people can access the services they need. Furthermore, credential recognition is very important. In our healthcare system, many people don't have a family physician, and there's long wait times at our ERs. So we need to ensure that credential recognition, particularly for medical professionals trained abroad, is streamlined here in Canada. I propose having a national test so that people with nursing or doctoral degrees from abroad can pass this test, show their competency, and contribute to our healthcare system sooner so people have access to a family doctor and can alleviate our wait times at ERs. And lastly, with regards to immigration, we need to have more tradespeople as well. So 350,000 new tradespeople need to be trained in the next few years so that we can build the infrastructure we need, whether it be housing, bridges, roads, mines, LNG projects. We need to make sure that there is people from those professions immigrating here to Canada as well. Thank you very much.
Peter.
There's two issues that come up when we talk about immigration. First, the heavy reliance on temporary foreign workers that we saw both under the Harper Conservatives and under the current government. It's also ensuring that we have infrastructure in place to support immigration. We need immigration. This is the most diverse part of all of Canada. There are 150 different languages spoken in Westminster-Burnaby-Maillardville. That means people coming from the four corners of the world to come here. But if we want to ensure that we're putting immigration in an effective way, we need to ensure that the infrastructure is there to receive them. And that's why the NDP fought so hard for housing. But that $10 billion that we got in the budget last spring is only a first step for the kinds of investments we need to ensure that we have people who can come here and have the infrastructure to actually support them. Now, temporary foreign workers has been a mainstay since the Harper Conservatives put that into place. My belief is this: if they're good enough to come and work in Canada, they should be good enough to stay in Canada and put down those roots and build this country. And certainly what happened when my grandparents came, including my refugee grandfather from Ireland. So we need to ensure that we put into place those that infrastructure. We need to make sure that we are accepting of new immigrants, including Filipino caregivers that are not given status when they land. Jenny Kwan, NDP immigration critic, fought hard for permanent resident status when Filipino caregivers arrive in Canada. These are the kinds of things that will make a difference. Finally, recognizing credentials. We have doctors and nurses and people from other countries, and there is no path for recognition of their credentials. The NDP has fought for that, for recognition, so that those skills that they've learned in other countries can be applied right here in Canada and address the skill shortages that are so important for us to address as a country. Thank you.
Indy.
Thank you, Laurie. At least I'm not holding my properly. We're a nation that's built by immigrants. Of course, we need immigration for our country, for our economy. But those who want to come to Canada deserve a plan that is clear, efficient, and compassionate. But the Liberals' record when it comes to immigration is one of failure, mismanagement, and backlogs that last for years. I've met many immigrants who are struggling. They were promised an opportunity in this country, but what they've got is just pure stress. No jobs, no opportunities, and some of them have gone into depression, that I've met. The Liberals don't have a plan. They don't have an immigration policy. And they are responsible for the chaos that we've got. It is unacceptable that lives and careers have been put on hold, and families have been kept apart for years because of the Liberal, broken immigration system. Under Stephen Harper, we had an immigration system that was the envy of the world. Conservatives believe in a well-functioning immigration system that promotes family through unification and allows new immigrants to achieve their dreams. Conservatives support a sustainable, merit-based immigration system that addresses immediate labor shortages in healthcare, in trades, and education through targeted immigration programs. Long-term integration supports that align with workforce needs and ensure language and job training is provided early. Thank you.
country that is largely based on immigration. It's very important that we stand with our immigrant community to make sure that they've got the resources they need when they come to Canada, and ensuring that we can give them the opportunities that they, so that they can help make our country better. I think that one thing that what Peter Julian said, just because we're across the aisle of the political spectrum, doesn't mean that we can't agree. I think the accreditation is really important. I was door knocking probably about a week ago, and I spoke with somebody that said, I have a close friend who was a doctor and came to Canada. He'd been practicing as a doctor for 10 years, and when he came here, he had to take a course into how to do an injection. Something pretty straightforward that he'd been doing for many, many years. So there's all kinds of red tape that immigrants face when coming to Canada, of having to recertify, and oftentimes they're not able to, and they just can't continue with the professions that they're trained in, and might have to, let's say, downgrade professions. And right now we need doctors. We can't afford to be losing doctors because they just couldn't do the extra certification because we have so much red tape in place. And I think that is something that we certainly need to have a large focus on going forward. Of course, we need to make sure that our immigration is sustainable with our infrastructure. We need to, over the past years, we've seen that a surge in immigration might have perhaps contributed to a cost of living crisis, and it's important that we make sure that it's sustainable over time. However, the immigrant community is the backbone of Canada, and it's important that we support it.
Well, that was question one. Now we're on to question two. Question two, in campaigning in our riding, what federal to local issues have been brought up the most by residents concerning our community? And to lead us off is going to be Indy.
Thank you. Well, I've already been campaigning for just under a week, but we already know what the issues are. In canvassing in Queensborough, near Westminster-Burnaby-Maillardville, the most pressing issues that I've come across from residents are housing affordability and rental supply. As we all know, housing prices have doubled, rents have doubled. Rising crime and public safety is another issue. Healthcare access, especially for seniors, is a number three issue that I've heard from people. But in Queensborough, the most pressing issue is traffic congestion. And when we get Costco, it'll be even worse. So transit connectivity is an issue that we need to resolve at all levels of government. It's not just municipal, provincial, and federal. We all need to work together. The lack of attention to community infrastructure and flood protection is another issue that I've heard from residents. Life has become more expensive for families. People are struggling to put food on the table. There's a huge lack of affordable housing caused by liberal policies. And now the permitting times, and this is what I hear from developers across the Lower Mainland. It takes 4 to 5 years in some developments to get a permit. That's totally unacceptable. And some developers have gone to the United States because it's easy to get a permit there, and it doesn't take more than 6 months. The overall cost of living has increased. Young families are struggling. People want to change so they can afford to live again, and so their children can have an affordable future. Thank you.
Jake.
So over the past couple of weeks, I've been door knocking all day, every day. I've definitely seen at least 1,000 doorsteps, and I'm really grateful for everyone that came out to talk and give me a sense of the issues they had at the top of their mind. Whether they vote Liberal, NDP, Conservative, or whoever else, it's really important that I'm always there to listen and understand the concerns of the residents. I think what's been at the top of everyone's mind right now is that this is not business as usual, as I've said. There is a major threat coming from the United States, and people are worried about Canada as a country and the things that I'm also seeing a lot of Canadian flags waving on Porsches, which is very nice to see. There is a lot of patriotism, I will say, but people are concerned about the United States and the way they've been treating us, which we thought was our most reliable partner for a very long time. Mental health and addictions is certainly also increasingly apparent to everybody. We're walking down the sidewalks and we're seeing people that are not getting the level of care that they need. So that's coming up a lot. And I guess lastly, the infrastructure of the community is not keeping up with the population increase. And it doesn't seem to residents that we're getting our voice across within Ottawa. We're not getting the level of federal funding that we need for projects. There's only one high school, and it's overcrowded, and people are really concerned about the education of their children, wanting to make sure that they're not all squished into one small portable. So those are some of the things that come to mind. Of course, there's many more, like the affordability crisis in general, the housing crisis, but those I would say are the top three.
Lourence.
Thank you very much. I'd like to feel that I have a good grasp on issues here in the West-Burnaby-Maillardville, particularly Queensborough. Indy mentioned he's been campaigning for 1 week, Jake for 2 weeks. I've taken the grassroots approach as mentioned. I've been campaigning since July 2024, so I've got to meet many residents and business owners here in the riding, and several issues have come about. First would be in regards to congestion. So in the first part when I talked about housing, I understand here New Westminster is the second densest city in Canada. So many residents have voiced frustrations that there's too much development and not enough amenities, such as community centers, pools, gym facilities, and so forth. So it's not a one-size-fits-all model. So I'd encourage home building in neighboring municipalities with more land to accommodate people. At New Westminster, we need to focus more on building amenities for people to use. Nextly, with regards to crime. I've walked down Columbia Street, for example. I know it's outside Queensborough, but it's part of the riding in the US. And I've spoken to several business owners who say when they arrive at their place of business in the morning, there could be someone sleeping outside, human waste, or needles, or needles present there. And they feel that the city has not been doing anything, so we need supports from the federal government to ensure that people who are struggling with drug addiction can seek the help they need through building treatment and rehabilitation centers to accommodate them, as well as reducing crime in the area. And lastly, affordability, which is a key issue that I'd like to talk about. Over the past 10 years, some of our allies have experienced more economic growth relatively to Canada. The UK, nearly 8% over 10 years, Germany nearly 5%. Canada's economic growth over 10 years has been less than 1%, which blows my mind how low that could be. We need to make sure we create more jobs here for Canadians. And of course, to increase for affordability, make sure people can have more money in their pockets. So I also propose reducing the first tax bracket from 15 to 12.75%, saving the average Canadian who makes $67,000, $900 per year. Thank you.
Peter.
First issue that comes up is affordability, which is why I pushed for affordable housing, pushed for dental care, pharmacare. In the next parliament, we'll fight to take the GST off family essentials and cap prices on family essentials, but also stop the food price gouging, the gas price gouging, the cell phone gouging. Canadians pay some of the highest rates on the planet, and that takes consumer protection. That's what electing NDP MPs mean. We will fight for you on these affordability issues. We've already made a difference. The more people say that the new dental plan that the NDP put into place is saving me so much money and helping my overall quality of life, that's only a first step, and we will move and push for pharmacare to go beyond diabetes medication and devices. That's something that Mr. Carney seems reluctant to do, and Mr. Polyev wants to cut entirely. We will fight to make sure it covers all classes of medication. That'll save, according to the Canadian Federation of Nurses Union, over 650 Canadian lives every year for people who die because they can't afford to pay for their medication. So what are the other issues? Well, infrastructure is a huge issue in Queensborough. We're talking about ditches and streets and sidewalks. I fought for $3 billion in funding. And New Westminster has done better than most communities across the country, but the problem is, and neither Mr. Panchi or Mr. Sawatzky will admit to this, is that consecutive Conservative and Liberal governments have allowed an infrastructure deficit to grow that by the time we hit 2030 will be $500 billion. Where have they spent the money? Well, the Harper tax haven treaties cost us $30 billion a year, according to the Parliamentary Budgetary Officer, and the Harper Conservatives and the Trudeau Liberals together gave, wait for this amount, over $1 trillion in current dollars out of CMHC and other sources of funding to support Canada's big banks. We would bring that tax haven money back. We wouldn't be bailing out the banks. We would be making sure we're investing in infrastructure here in Queensborough and throughout the ride.
Tara.
Thank you. Like everyone else, I don't think, because we're such a grassroots organization, so I've been to two of the New Westminster fairs, as well as knocked on doors, and affordable housing has been one of the major issues. I know that personally myself. I have 2 adult children living with me, cannot afford the astronomical rents that we have here in New Westminster. The other issue was healthcare access. Actually, long wait times for surgery. And I've heard people who had to do something called medical tourism in other countries to be able to access healthcare. So that has been one of the major issues. And as someone mentioned, just foreign credentials. So there's this Nigerian doctor I know who's pumping gas, and he says that why do I have to do that? So these are the kind of stories I've been hearing. As well as we went to Douglas College. I think Julian and I were there, and Lourence was also there. And employability for young people. They just have no upward mobility. And it's not just housing, it's their rents, it's their housing costs, it's their food security. They're having to access food banks, actually, so many people. Then transportation, oh my goodness, that really, I've traveled, I've tried to walk on some of the side streets here, at the Queensborough landing. You need much more, active transportation infrastructure, as well as transit, rapid transit from perhaps, downtown to Queensborough, because right now it's really not that well connected. Also, public safety, lots of people have said that, they want to see, crime reduced, but in a holistic manner. They don't want to criminalize poverty. So, one of the things.
After this question, we're going to take a 7th inning stretch. So, question 3. As a country, we need trained professionals in areas like education, teachers and support staff, healthcare, nurses and doctors, trades, carpenters, plumbers, electricians, heavy equipment operators. What programs and initiatives would you see being useful for encouraging growth in these areas? And we're going to start back off with Tara. Yeah. Sorry.
No. So the programs, I think one would be vocational training that we need in organizations or institutions like BCIT, as well as also being able to find language programs for professionals that come from foreign countries, and make sure that they are equipped with dealing with what we have over here. Also, I would say that, in order to get all our tradespeople up and running, we should also look at investing in more renewable energy and, projects like that, because they are, the competencies can be transferred from the oil and gas industry to those, the tradespeople can be accommodated there, and one can see that once you do invest in renewable energy, and there are so many jobs created. Also, thinking of just electrification, from the east to west Canada. This is something which the Greens are thinking of. This would again create a lot of jobs and also take a lot of tradespeople. We would employ these tradespeople. It's all about creating those renewable jobs, but also jobs that are going to be long-lasting in the future. And I think just giving vocational training to them.
Lourence.
So we need to expand access to apprenticeship programs and technical training by partnering with universities, provinces, and industry to ensure young people have easier access to getting the skills they need to work in the trades. I have some experience with builders who say they're competing for people to do various jobs on projects such as framing and so forth. That delays projects. We need to ensure we have more trained professionals in the trades. I proposed in an earlier question to have 350,000 more trained tradespeople over the next few years to alleviate the demand for the tradespeople. With regards to our healthcare system, I mentioned earlier a program to recognize international credentials for medical professionals so that they can contribute to our healthcare system sooner, and instead of working other jobs, they can use the skills that they learn. But of course, it's very important that they show their competency. So of course, passing a test and then working under the supervision of a locally trained professionals in order to know how things are done here in Canada. And furthermore, we want to have trained professionals domestically as well. So having loan forgiveness programs and incentives for doctors and nurses to also relocate to other areas of Canada or rural areas such as the interior, where there is high demand for doctors and nurses. But not many people want to live out there. And of course, bringing back professionals from the United States. I know some people who move there because of higher pay. So we got to find a way to bridge that gap so it's economically viable for doctors and nurses to work here in Canada once again. And yep, that's about it for that question. Thank you so much.
Peter.
Thanks, Laurie. First off, apprenticeship training, and I want to shout out to my niece, Hannah, who just last month received her Red Seal as an electrician. So she now joins tradespeople from across Canada. And I'm a big supporter of apprenticeship training programs. Canada's unions, Canada's building trades, have actually stepped up in a very marked way. The federal government needs to step up and provide more supports for apprenticeship training. We need those skills. They're well-paying skills. And yet we have not had a federal government leadership. NDP MPs in the House of Commons will push for the kind of funding that actually supports what the labour movement has done, what Canada's building trades unions have done, so that we can have the apprenticeships and have the Red Seal tradespeople that we need tomorrow. The second issue I touched on earlier, which is the whole issue of recognition of foreign credentials. We have many doctors, we have many nurses that are simply unable to practice at the same time as we have a shortage. And if you talk to our staff at the Royal Columbian Hospital, they will talk about the shortage of healthcare professionals. And yet there is no pathway for so many of those foreign trained professionals at a time when we have serious shortages in the healthcare system. More healthcare cuts are not needed. Both Mr. Kearney and Mr. Polyev have talked about cuts. The reality is we need increased healthcare funding, and we need to make sure that part of that funding goes to having a path for credential recognition for folks who come from the four corners of the world to our communities at Westminster-Burnaby-Maillardville. And then finally, There is the reality of the Trump regime on the other side of the border. What we are seeing is Americans who are frightened by the kinds of things that are happening in the United States. Those doctors, as Premier Indy has said, and nurses, and a variety of professionals who want to come to Canada, need to make sure that we open our doors wide for those American-trained professionals here in Canada.
This is definitely a very important question. I know there's been talk of a reduction in government spending, and that is very important, but I'm happy to say that Mark Carney has assured that there won't be cuts to healthcare, which is very important, because everyone in Canada deserves access to adequate healthcare. And yes, if we've mentioned already, healthcare staffing levels are at crisis. We do not have enough doctors, nurses, and we can't literally survive without them. So we need to make sure that we're taking steps to incentivize people to become doctors and nurses. So we should cover tuition costs for high demand sectors such as healthcare, and do some paid training, for example, apprenticeships. These are all programs that the county government supports, and which will incentivize more developments in these really important jobs. In regards to housing, we are doing apprenticeships for carpenters as well. And Mark Carney has announced that we have very ambitious plans to have the biggest housing boom since post-World War II levels, building 500,000 new homes from start to finish. More federal funding into these programs, so that we can get enough houses we need and address this housing crisis. And it won't be done, of course, without workers. And we need to make sure that we have enough carpenters that are receiving the training so that we can get these houses built. Thanks.
Indy. I want everyone to remember the last 10 years. The problems created by the Liberal government. And suddenly they've been enlightened. Oh, we've got a problem here. First of all, you know the healthcare crisis here. We have enough doctors and nurses. We're not employing them. I myself had to go to the hospital a month and a half ago. I had to wait 12 years, it sounds like 12 years, 12 hours to be seen by a doctor. We have a serious problem here. And suddenly, the Liberal government's got solutions. Where were they the last 10 years? To meet the growing need for skilled professionals, we need to invest in apprenticeship programs and expand the Canada Job Grant. Support fast-track pathways for internationally trained professionals. Partner with provinces and industries to promote skilled trades in schools and provide financial incentives for in-demand careers. Let's fix this problem. The problem is the government. The government has ballooned so much, by 40%. Just paperwork and paperwork and paperwork, bureaucracy and red tape. The solution is to slash the government, trim the government, and get our people working in hospitals and in trades. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we're halfway through. Let's have a little seventh inning stretch. If you got it, just stand up. I just wanted to put a shout out to the Gurdwara here in Queensborough. Last Wednesday night, I was fortunate enough to go there and get an hour and a half education about the Sikh culture and religion, and then go downstairs and have a very lovely dinner. And I have lived here for 20 plus years, and I've never been in the Gurdwara, but I would encourage anybody in Queensborough to go down there because they're very welcoming and it's a very great dinner. So. There they are, the cooks. Okay, in 1 minute, we'll all be sitting down again. Yep, go ahead. Alrighty, we're going to start with question number 4. Oh, we're missing a candidate. Put out an all points bulletin. He has the question anyways and he has the answer, so we'll start off. Oh my goodness, it's Lourence.
Sorry.
Welcome back, Lourence. Here is the question. Seniors are a growing population by living longer in this riding. What initiatives would your party and you like to see in the areas of Canada Pension Plan, old age security, guaranteed income supplement, tax credits and deductions, along with supportive community programs, supports, and health care? Lourence.
Thank you, Laurie. First and foremost, our seniors deserve to retire with dignity, security, and access to the care they need after retirement. And of course, keeping the retirement age at age 65. With regards to CPP, keeping it secure and stable for future retirees. I'm 30, so I still have a long way to go to get to that. And with OAS and GIS, to keep it at pace with inflation, and perhaps reevaluating the thresholds, the income thresholds, so more people can qualify. With regards to supports, meal, transportation, companionship supports for seniors, I also support telehealth because some seniors are not as mobile, so they can't actually travel away from the home, so having more telehealth services, investing in that as well. With regards to the old age credit, right now I believe it's just under $9,000, so reevaluating that. I'm not sure if that's sufficient now. Perhaps increasing that based on inflation and other factors as well. Of course, seniors deserve to retire at age 65, but some people do choose to continue working past that age. So right now, seniors can earn $24,000 tax-free. So I believe that should be increased because now cost of living has gone up. So of course, that threshold should go up to a higher amount, perhaps $34,000. And lastly, with healthcare transfers. So just recently, I visited a long-term care home in Westminster near Saperton. Spoke to some of the residents there. They were happy to have other people come and chit-chat, just telling me about their various life stories. So having more, maybe sending people there to connect with the seniors, and of course investing more in our long-term care health facilities. Thank you very much.
Indy.
Thank you, Laurie. I'll be nice to stand up, so I can stretch my legs as well. Look, the seniors are struggling out there. They're finding it very difficult to make ends meet due to the Liberal and the NDP. They're supposed to look after our seniors, but they made them poorer. Now, I've spoken to many seniors at the doorsteps, and they're looking for change. They just want to be treated with dignity, and that's not what's happening. Canadian seniors have earned the right to enjoy their golden years. They've worked all their lives, and guess what? They're struggling due to the Liberal government the last 10 years. Please don't forget that. Seniors can't afford a fourth Liberal government. Excuse me. We need a new Conservative government to bring down cost and crime and put Canada first for a change. We respect the contributions of seniors and want to protect their dignity. A Conservative government will maintain and strengthen CPP, OAS, and GIS, and ensuring they keep up with inflation. Expand access to home care services, invest in local senior wellness programs, and prioritize funding for community-based healthcare activities. Thank you.
Tara.
Yes, the CPP rates have to be increased, and what has to happen is there have to be contributions not only from employees but the employers, so that it is commensurate with inflation, and we need that extra income. Seniors need that extra income because the cost of living is going up, and healthcare issues and stuff like that. So I would absolutely agree with the CPP rates going up, as well as what the Greens would like to see is a universal OAS for the seniors. This is because all seniors should have access to old age service, old age supplement. And as well as there should be an increase in guaranteed income supplements. This would be what the Greens would like to see is right now we get, seniors get around 1,000. It should increase to about 15,000 so that, 1,500, sorry, 1,500. That's what, and we see also that there should be no clawback. If seniors are working in their twilight years and they have to have that income supplement, there should be no clawback. As regards to health services, one should have, critical care centers in Queensborough, in the downtown area, as well as have the Dogwood model where you have a one-stop shop for all your medical needs. You can access, just any sort of healthcare and references to the specialists you need to see. So that's what I would like to say.
Jake.
So, as you can probably tell, I don't have a pension plan. Working on it. In all seriousness, I do have grandparents and parents that are now needing to have these resources, and I am concerned that they won't be able to sustain themselves in a long-term sense with the rising cost of groceries and housing and all of that. So it's really important that we do take steps to make sure that our seniors can live happily and healthily with all of their hard-earned savings. So a few things that the county government is doing to address this is the minimum withdrawal of the RIF to 25%. And so that will make it definitely more able so that people can depend on those savings for longer. And the increasing the guaranteed income supplement by 5% for 1 year. And that could provide seniors with up to $652 for low-income seniors, which is tax-free. And of course, these are just a few steps that the county government is taking to address this really important issue. Thanks.
Peter.
So I remember how the Conservative government treated seniors, because I had to speak for 14 hours in Parliament, the filibuster, to block their gutting of seniors' pensions and raising the retirement age. Yeah. And I said, no, never again. Conservatives can't be trusted with seniors. The only group in society they treated worse were veterans, depriving 20,000 veterans of their disability pension, closing 20 service offices. So veterans who were disabled had to travel sometimes hundreds of miles to get service. So don't talk to me about the Conservative government supporting seniors. It just does not happen. It was a deplorable period in Canadian history. But with the NDP, well, we fought for seniors, we fought for GLBI, Alia Gazan, an NDP MP in Winnipeg, presented that in the House. Greens voted for it, so did the Bloc. We did not get support from the Liberals and Conservatives, but we're not going to stop there. We believe in lifting all seniors out of poverty. We believe in stopping this discrimination against single seniors. We are working hard on those issues. But we also succeeded in getting a number of things in place in this minority parliament that benefit seniors. The dental care has now helped over 2 million people, most of them seniors. And this has made a big difference in people's lives. Seniors who haven't been able to go to a dentist for years are finally able to get access. The pharmacare plan that starts with people with diabetes will help people who are seniors, but we want to make sure that all medications are included, and that includes heart medication. We push for affordable housing. That means rent that is capped at 30% of income. For a senior on a fixed income, that can make a big difference. And we pushed for long-term care. The long-term care sector has not received the funding that it needs. We want to change that, elect NDP MPs, and we will fight on those issues for seniors.
We're on to question 5. Canada is a nation rich in oil, gas, metals, and minerals. We call them natural resources. Outline the ways your party will open us up to other worldwide markets. What type of infrastructure would you need to build and operate in Canada to access these opportunities? And we're starting off with Jake.
So Canada, of course, is very rich in resources, and we have a competitive advantage over other countries because of this. Right now, we're seeing that it's increasingly important that we are self-reliant as a country and not dependent on our trade partners down south, because we can't rely on them anymore. And so it's important that we're able to leverage our resources so that we have an advantage here. Now, of course, it is very important that the extraction of these resources is done in consideration with the environment. We do not want to go way too quickly and be not considering the environmental factors that come with the rapid extraction of resources. We don't want to be rapidly clear-cutting forests. We need to make sure we take steps to mitigate that. With that being said, it's important that we do put a lot of time and energy into thinking about the best ways we can most efficiently extract our resources and diversify our trade partners so that we're not just reliant on the United States. We can trade with the European Union and many other countries a lot more consistently. because it's our advantage, our resources, but we need to make sure that we use it as an advantage. Thanks.
My grandfather worked at Fraser Mills, just up the river. We used to have thousands of good jobs there. Value-added production, wood production. And then Stephen Harper signed the softwood lumber sellout, gave $1 billion to the Americans and sold out our lumber industry, and mills closed, Western Forest Products, Canfor, Interfor, including here in Queensborough, thanks to Stephen Harper selling out our country. The reality is we need to get back to what worked for Canada, and that is value-added, that is building things. We have a skilled workforce, and we can do that with the economy, but not with the approach that we've seen over the last 20 years. Selling raw logs, raw bitumen, raw minerals across the border, and putting all our eggs in the American basket has turned out to be a major problem. And the NDP warned about this. We were the only party standing up in the House of Commons saying, putting all your eggs in one basket for a market does not make a lot of sense. Well, we've been proven right. So let's get back to value-added production. Let's ensure that those minerals that we have, the resources that we have, actually serve value-added production. And we need to ensure that we do trade diversification, not putting all our eggs in the American basket. I mentioned earlier, 150 languages in this ride, people from the 4 corners of the planet, and yet we do not use the diaspora and the multitude of languages that are here to build our markets in other countries. I have talked to trade commissioners at many Canadian embassies. They don't even have the budget to buy a cup of coffee for somebody who might want to buy Canadian products. When the Australians, the Americans, the Europeans invest in export promotion, Canada needs to follow suit. And so I pledge, re-elected, to work hard for that trade diversification, for value-added production, to build an economy that is robust and an economy that is a full employment economy. Thanks.
Indy.
We're a country that's rich in resources, but poorly managed. That's what we are. We should be exporting our oil and gas to the US, because the US, we're selling the energy cheap there. We've got other markets. Why aren't we doing that? I blame the Liberal government, Carney himself, because he's been an advisor to Justin Trudeau for the last 5 years. Now, Carney doesn't want to build pipelines in this country, but he's invested billions, makes billions of dollars in pipelines in Brazil and other countries. Hypocrisy. We will unlock Canada's potential by fast-tracking markets of those projects and pipelines that open markets beyond the US. There's a reason why Donald Trump is bullying our country with a weak economy. We need to make our economy strong and create jobs in this country. The Liberal government has totally destroyed our economy. We can't afford another 4th term. Don't forget that, what they've done to our economy. We need to attract international buyers to ensure that Canadian resources are delivered ethically and reliably. Thank you.
Lourence.
Thank you. So Canada is rich in many natural resources such as LNG, minerals, and so forth. So we really need to build the infrastructure necessary to unleash this potential. So there should be one environmental review and one application with a target of 6 months for approval, with a maximum of 1 year for these projects to be approved. We need to repeal Bill C-69 to build pipelines in this country. We sell our LNG to the US at a discount. And we need to diversify our markets, building an east-west pipeline to supply Asia, for example. We can reach it in 11 days by boat, supplying Europe, and even other countries such as India. So people have a concern with the environmental impact. However, if we can supply LNG to accommodate India's need for energy over the next few years, we can supply 50% of their energy, reducing 2.5 billion tons of emissions, which is 3 times our Canadian emissions. So actually supplying our global markets with LNG, India, for example, would actually reduce global emissions. We need to increase our port and rail capacity as well in order to access minerals in remote areas, build those roads and infrastructure. Of course, and lastly, there was one more point here. Oh yes, remove the industrial carbon tax. That's a big one. So right now, Mark Carney has paused the consumer carbon tax. He could unilaterally bring it back when some parliament resumes. It has not been dismissed by a vote in the House of Commons, but removing the industrial carbon tax is even important as well. It adds costs to businesses and discourages investment in Canada. So if we remove the industrial carbon taxes, that will encourage companies to invest here in Canada into our infrastructure in order to unleash our mineral, natural resource potential. Thank you very much.
Tara.
Yes, we are a country rich in resources. Right now, we just had an attitude of rip and ship. And we have to do something to keep those resources within the country to be able to transition into renewable energy. And how would we do this? We would manufacture, we would take care of those resources which are in Canada and not have companies like Petronas or Wood Fiber who are actually developing our energy. And they get the royalties. It's not the Canadians that get the royalty from these energy projects or the oil and gas projects. So what would we do? What the Greens are planning to do is have green bonds where we can invest, where Canadians can invest in these bonds, which would then, accelerate renewable energy, and renewable energy would then provide the jobs, provide all the resources to make our resources more competitive, because we would not only have these green bonds, which we would then be for Canadians, and they would be invested in renewable energy, but we would keep our resources within Canada, but at the same time use electrification for sending the resources if we needed to, with value-added products, as Peter Julian was saying. So this is something which we would do, and really just go develop green infrastructure, rails, roads, and keep these resources at home rather than have them being shipped abroad.
Well, we're at the sixth question of the evening. And this question is, public safety and crime dominate the Canadian media, particularly what appears to be a catch and release laws. How would your party and you address and begin a program to reduce crime and increase public safety using legislation, custodial sentences, programs, and incarceration, being mindful that much of this criminally involved population have significant mental health and substance use issues? And we'll start off with Peter.
I brought legislation on public safety before the House of Commons to ensure that there are stronger sentences for people who attack transit operators, bus drivers, firefighters acting in the line of duty. These are all things that can make a difference. But the reality is, what we need is a federal government that shows leadership. Now, we have locally the City of Westminster Police that have done an excellent job over the past year. And I do want to share these figures with you because they're important. They were in the record as well. 58% reduction in break and entry, 57% reduction in aggravated assaults, 57% reduction in robberies, 50% reduction in deaths from vehicles. That means that the community crime prevention program that the city is taking on is making a difference. But we need more court funding. We need to ensure that we are providing police supports, and we need to have recovery programs and addiction supports. Mental health and addiction supports are absolutely vital. So when other parties talk about cutting healthcare funding, I have to disagree. It makes a difference when the supports are there, whether we're talking about housing first, whether we're talking about addiction treatment, whether we're talking about mental health supports. I do want to flag, I'm interested in hearing my Conservative colleague on this. When the Harper government was in power, what did they eliminate? Well, they eliminated the national crime prevention programs right across this country. They slashed 1,200 frontline officers from the Canadian Border Services Association. What that meant was that the flood of illegal arms across the border was increased. The Harper government was terrible on crime prevention, terrible on public safety, and they never reflected on the errors that they made. Unfortunately, the Liberals have not restored that funding. I will fight as a re-elected MP to make sure that we have the crime prevention funding in place and crime prevention centers right across the country.
Indy. Thank you. There's only one party that will toughen the laws against crime. And that's the Conservative Party.
Yes. Yeah.
And who kept the Liberals in power? The NDP did. Because their leader wanted a pension.
Yes.
So let's be very clear on that. Crime is out of control. Decriminalization of drugs, the hard drugs that are supplied to the residents, to all over the place, has caused havoc in our neighborhoods. We need to handle that drugs. We need to handle the drugs problem. We've lost 50,000 lives to the fentanyl crisis. 50,000. The Conservative government will support and fund 50,000 spaces for mental health and drug and recovery centers. Conservatives will ensure safety by ending the Liberal catch and release. 40 criminals have committed 6,000 crimes. Can you believe that? Because our laws are so soft on crime. If you want to move to Canada as a criminal, you'll get away with it. That's how soft it is. They know that. We need to toughen our laws to protect our families, our neighborhoods, because crime is totally out of control. When I hear families, parents, talking about going on soccer pitches, make sure there's no needles on the floor, on the ground, that's a serious problem we have. We need to support our frontline police investing in youth diversion and cracking down on gangs and organized crime. The Conservative Party is the only party that's tough on crime. Thank you.
Lourence.
So I wanted to point out some of the statistics Mr. Chief Peter Julian brought up about the fantastic service of the U.S. Police Department reducing crime in certain areas. However, if you look at the concrete numbers, in New Westminster, crime is still 13% higher in New Westminster compared to the national average. Across BC, it's still about 40% higher than the national average. So, of course, we work in other communities, we travel, we commute, which is ridiculous that the crime is still so high. So we need to remove the catch and release situation that we have right now. There's repeat habitual offenders who commit violent crimes over and over again. After a certain number of times, I propose 3 times, they should be ineligible for bail after that many offenses. As well as serious hard jail time for fentanyl traffickers, human traffickers, and people who commit crimes of that magnitude. But of course, compassion needs to go hand in hand with this public safety issue as well. Because some people are impacted by mental health and drug addiction who turn to crime as without other means to make a living. So we need to invest in treatment and rehabilitation centers to ensure we can help people get back on their feet, leave crime, leave drug use, and contribute to our economy once again. And of course, I encourage everyone also to, with regards to mental health, look into your immediate family and friends as well. I would say a lot of people are facing mental health issues because of the loneliness epidemic. So people need to really call their friends and loved ones and really check in on them to make sure everyone's all right, in order for Canadians to have solidarity and be happy. And yeah, thank you very much.
Tara.
Yes, I actually, the Greens, we have a very different way of tackling, right? Because we believe in restorative justice. A lot of these crimes are due to, drug addiction and mental strife, mental health strife. So we need to have many more programs in place. We don't have enough transitional housing. I think we only have one transitional housing in New Westminster. So we need to make sure that the homelessness crisis is dealt with. Alongside, the transitional homes, you do have to have mental health care centers and detox centers. So there's not this wraparound back into crime or back into mental strife. So that needs to be done. I've done a program with Indigenous incarcerated women, and restorative justice has worked wonders. They have a program called Circle, and they tell their stories, and they are now, in a arts program where they perform on stage. So, they can be rehabilitated. However, I do agree that there are some instances where you have to have those harsh punishments, and criminals should not go back. And those are the gang-related incidents. And these gang-related incidents of violence where people have actually been shot and killed in cross-gang violence. But the other thing is also, because we used to have this in schools, the reach of gangs in schools, that is really, it's terrible, because they make kids into these drug mules, and all that has to be stopped. So you should have policing, you should have patrolling, but it has to be done in a more kind and gentle manner.
Jay.
So I have been hearing from residents that crime is a concern and people are not feeling safe to go outside. Sometimes when it's dark out, people don't feel safe. They might start making exceptions to taking the SkyTrain and that kind of thing. We need to make sure that we address these issues. Now, of course, government isn't perfect and we're always listening to our community, and these are the things that we're hearing, so this is what we will act on. So the Carney government is taking steps to address this, such as bail reform, making sure that people that are committing violent crimes are not able to get bail, and making sure that people who are repeat offenders get tougher sentencing laws. These are the things that the community is telling us, and this is what we're acting on. It's really important that residents are feeling safe in their neighborhoods, and right now they're not, from the people I've been talking to. Now, of course, this all ties into mental health and addictions, as Tara so rightly mentioned. Many of these individuals have had struggles often at the same time with mental health and substance use, and so we need to make sure that that is getting the resources it needs so that people are not going down this path in the first place. Because the best thing is prevention rather than acting on a problem that's already there. We need to stop crime before it starts. Now, of course, there's also prevention in the way of making sure we have enough resources for our police officers that are out there protecting the community, and enough funding so that they have enough boots on the ground to make sure that they're preventing crimes before they're happening. So that is the actions that we're taking to address this issue. Thanks.
Well, we've gone through the 6 questions. We've gone through their introduction. And now we are at the part where it's wrap up. So each candidate will have 2 minutes to tell you why you should vote for them. And right off the bat, Jake starts.
Just gonna stand up here all. So, my grandfather immigrated here when he fled the Stalin era. He came to Canada and built a new life after the persecution of his family, and Canada was there for him. It was a place he could come, and it was a free country, a democracy, and he built a life here. Now, today, our very freedoms that we take for granted are under attack by the United States. This is not business as usual. This is very much a concerning situation. Every day, we are facing more threats with tariffs and 51st state threats, which is blatant threats of annexation from our neighbors to the south. So this is not a normal election. This is a very, very important one that we all get behind one leader, and that leader is Mark Cummings with the Liberal Party. We really need to make sure that he can take decisive action on behalf of a unified Canada, because without that, it's going to be not a good situation, as you can all imagine. I come from a working class family. My father's a school counselor, my mother's in human resources, my uncle's a longshoreman. When I'm talking to people, I'm hearing very similar stories to the ones that I've grown up with. People are having trouble affording their groceries. People are not feeling safe. People are seeing the issues that everyone is having with mental health and substance use. And we really need to make sure that we all come together to put our best foot forward and address these issues as they come up. Now, I believe that I will be your voice for this riding. I will be able to speak directly to the Prime Minister, as I just did so 4 days ago, and advocate directly for this community so that it gets its proper voice in Ottawa. Thank you so much, and please vote Liberal this coming election.
Peter.
Well, first, a shout out to all of the candidates and to all of you. This is really the heart of Canadian democracy. We disagree, sometimes vehemently, but politely. And this evening is one example of that, where we can have this debate and discussion and come away perhaps with different points of view, but all believing in Canadian democracy. So thank you to all of you for coming out and showing that support. I'm often asked by Liberal MPs, by Conservative MPs, how do you get so much done? How come you've helped so many people in your riding? How come you have brought so many programs that actually benefit people? And that's because experience makes a difference. Understanding the House of Commons and how it functions, so you can push in affordable housing, make sure the dental care plan starts and works. One of the people here mentioned, well, initially the dental care plan didn't work. It didn't because the Liberals botched it with dentists. And I sat down with the health minister, told him what needed to happen. It needed to be treated like any other public and private plan. And the reality is now the plan works incredibly well. This is what makes a difference in our democracy, when you have members of parliament with experience that can actually provide that support. And MPs speaking up for you. We know that Trump does threaten our country. We need to make sure, with strong NDP MPs, that families and workers and communities are taken care of. That's why it's important to vote NDP. That's why it's important to have strong NDP voices in the House of Commons. I'm also scared of what Pierre Poilievre would do. His cuts, the background that he has, I do not feel that he would be acting in the interest of this country. So if you normally vote Liberal or you normally vote Green, I ask you to lend me your vote for this election so we can defeat the Conservatives and work together in the interest of Canada. Thanks so much for coming out.
Indy.
Thank you once again for everybody turning up today. Look, when I came to Canada, and I mentioned that in my introduction speech as well, it's a country that was full of opportunities and prosperity. It's not that country anymore. I don't even recognize that country. The Liberal government, supported by the NDP, have destroyed the fabric of our society. The neighborhoods are not safe. Seniors are struggling. Housing affordability. If you ask any youth out there, can they afford a home if they work hard? No. It's going to take them decades to put even a down payment together to afford a mortgage. So people are struggling out there. Do we really want a fourth term of the Liberal government? Can we afford one? No. We need to rebuild our economy. We need to start from scratch. Now, we know about the healthcare issues. We know about the communities are not safe. How do we fix that? We bring a conservative governing power. If those remember the Stephen Harper days, it was safer streets, the economy was strong, and we get a brilliant immigration system. Now, immigrants weren't struggling, they had opportunities. Please vote for the Conservative Party on April 28th, so we can bring prosperity and opportunities back to this city, back to this riding, and back to this country, so we can be proud of what we are. Canadians, united, Canada first. Thank you.
Tara.
Thank you so much for having us and giving us this opportunity. I just want to tell you that the Green Party is a party for the future and for the future of your children, and it has the best possible way of creating jobs, creating a good economy, a green economy, going into the future, which would have jobs, limitless jobs for many years for future generations. I think, it's like the indigenous people say, you look for 7 generations ahead, and each generation looks further ahead. And I think that's what we have to do with having a green economy. The green economy will bring you many jobs. Not just, in renewable energy, which is solar energy or geothermal. We're rich in geothermal. You can put a pipe in and you will get geothermal here in BC. They're doing it, the indigenous nations are doing it up north. So this is an economy, the green economy that we can really look towards. And it is climate action. There's going to be many more disasters and climate crises if we don't act now. And so if you really want to look for the future, look for your children, look for your children's future, it has to be the Greens that you have to give a vote to. The other thing, the last thing I want to say is, don't get fear-mongered into saying you have to either vote for the Conservatives or the Liberals. I'm a director with the Fair Vote Canada, and if we don't have proportional representation, but if you have a coalition government, you are going to be the best served, because the best outcomes will come for anything, for housing, for affordability. It will be a coalition government. So thank you.
Lourence.
Thank you. To end off, no doubt all Canadians have been impacted by the many issues facing us over the last 9 years. 2 million people use the food bank every month. 25% of people are below the poverty line, and overdoses have doubled. But I do have hope for the future. Like I mentioned, young people have received the short end of the stick and are feeling hopeless nowadays, trying to enter the workforce after university or trade school, whatever occupation they want to pursue, but seeing no upward mobility anymore. So I want to be a voice, not for young people, of course, because we need more balanced age representation in Parliament, but a voice for all Canadians. Like I mentioned earlier, I've been campaigning for nearly a year now, taking a grassroots approach, meeting many of you over the past several months. I'm sure all the candidates here are fantastic, and we all have the same intention to take Canada forward. We just have different ideas of moving forward. I'm sure Jake is a terrific guy, but the election began on March 23rd. He was parachuted here on April 1st after being appointed to Chilliwack and then moved here. Yes, and then Indy, the day I was dismissed from the party, I spoke to him 2 hours after, and when I told him the reason why, his response was, really? That's it? And he said he was not on board with the party's decision, that he would decline the candidacy, but now he's here running, so maybe he can address that later on. And Mr. Peter Julian, thank you so much for your service over 21 years. But the NDP has been involved in the Liberals over the past several years with their supply and confidence agreement, propping them up, which has caused many of the problems we're now facing. So we do definitely need change. So I do implore all of you to consider my independent candidacy. I have been campaigning for nearly a year, getting to know all of you. So I do have a shot at being your member of parliament, and I implore all of you this election. It's a very unique circumstance. In this particular riding, I encourage all of you to vote for the person, not the party. The person you have faith in to be your member of parliament, to address your concerns, and not be part of a party banner. I'm not beholden to any party or any party whip. I can make my voting decisions based on what the constituents in this riding would like. Thank you very much.
I'll be quick in wrapping up. We're around a little overtime tonight, but I would like to thank each and every candidate for confirming and coming out tonight. I would like to thank you as the audience for coming out, taking part of your evening to find out what's going on in our riding and being part of this. Thank you. I'd also like to encourage everybody, we live in a democracy and you have the right to vote, and I would hope that everybody exercises that right.
Yeah.
Because that is from birth. So anyways, I hope everybody gets out to vote. I hope you have a safe evening, and I appreciate you all taking part of your evening to be here. I'm overwhelmed by how many people. I really thought when we started this, we'd have 30 or 40 people. And you've overwhelmed me, so thank you.